Welcome to the very first episode of the Spartan Educator Podcast, the official podcast of Norfolk State University School of Education, where legacy meets leadership. I am your host, Christopher T. Kidd, and I am very thrilled to launch our very first episode with each and every one of you. Here on the Spartan Educator, we honor the trailblazers who paved the way. We highlight the voices shaping education today, and we showcase the Spartans preparing to lead tomorrow's classrooms. We're taking you behind the scenes of our rich history, bringing you into the offices where big decisions are made, and introducing you to the students ready to make an impact in education. Whether you're an alum, a current student, or a friend of Norfolk State, you are part of the journey as we continue to be the premier destination for the future of education. Let's dive in for our very first episode. Attention School of Education alumni, you are invited to our special alumni homecoming brunch in honor of our generous alumni donors. Please join us on Friday, October 24th from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. in the Bozeman Education Building, room 231. Come reconnect, reminisce, and celebrate what it means to be a Spartan educator. Please RSVP by October 17th to Mrs. Angelique Mitchell at admitchell@nsu.edu. Please join us. For our first segment, we are going to take a stroll down Legacy Lane. The School of Education at Norfolk State University carries more than history in its walls. It carries promise. Promise born in struggle, nurtured by vision, carried forward through every graduate who walks into a classroom, ready not just to teach, but to transform. It began 90 years ago on September 18, 1935, in the midst of the Great Depression, when 85 determined students gathered in 3 modest rooms atop the Hunton YMCA here in Norfolk. This was the Norfolk unit of Virginia Union University, the seed of what would become Norfolk State. At its helm stood Samuel Fisher Scott, a social worker turned educator whose mission was simple yet profound. Find every student, kindle every mind, and build every possibility. By 1938, Lyman Beecher Brooks became director and then, many years later, the first president of the independent institution. Under Dr. Brooks's leadership, the school grew from its humble confines into an institution defined by purpose. He oversaw moves to large buildings, the acquisition of land, the creation of curricula, and the awarding of the first bachelor degrees, which were in elementary education in the year 1958. The very first degrees awarded, and they were right here in the School of Education. These were more than milestones. They were signs of hope. Signs that as often as people told us that we can't, there were a few of us that said, we're going to anyway. Over the decades, the School of Education has nurtured educators who didn't just enter the classroom, but they walked into communities, into systems, and into places hungry for change. One alumnus who exemplifies this is Dr. Walter R. Clemens, who received his BS in 87 and his MS in 90 right here at Norfolk State. A teacher, a principal, an educator, an administrator, a superintendent, and in 2023, Virginia Superintendent of the Year. His journey embodies what it means to lead with compassion, with competence, and with an unshakable commitment. The same spirit is seen in Dr. Marion Palmer Capps, who taught mathematics and education at Norfolk State for more than 25 years. A graduate of Howard and Columbia universities, she not only prepared future teachers in the classroom, but she also served on civic boards, led community initiatives, and mentored countless students. Her life testified that teaching was never confined to 4 walls. It was leadership and service and a vision lived out daily. And beyond individuals, there stands a collective. faculties, student, community partners, unsung heroes, those who laid bricks for Brown Hall, established early teacher training programs, demanded accreditation, embraced inclusion, and pushed for equity, the mothers and the fathers of the school of education who believed that every child, every neighborhood, and every voice deserves a chance. These trailblazers believed that education could transform communities. Their work still guides us today. We honor them not just by remembering, but by continuing their mission, by teaching with purpose, researching with rigor, engaging with justices and injustices, and leading with our heart. Stories like Dr. Clemens and Dr. Capps and Dr. Miller's and so many other, they remind us that the school of education isn't just about classrooms. It's about courage, community, and change. It's about preparing leaders who stand in front of students and say, your voice matters, your future matters, and together we can change the world. Their journeys show us that education is never only about books or whiteboards. It's about the people who choose to lead with heart, the ones who push for justice, and the ones who carry a legacy forward into the next generation. And as we honor their footsteps, we're also challenged to ask ourselves, how will we carry that legacy today? What impact will we leave for the students in the communities that come tomorrow? And while we're asking ourselves those questions, we will always honor, remember, and shed light on those that have walked the lane of legacy. Next, let's hear from the leadership driving the future of the School of Education. I'm joined by the Dean of the School of Education, Dr. Donnell Wallace Alexander, who is here to share the vision, priorities, and exciting initiatives underway here at Norfolk State University. Dean Wallace, thank you for being here with us today.
Well, thank you for having me.
Dean Wallace, you've spoken about often about wanting to find the right balance between honoring tradition and embracing innovation. How would you describe that balance in the School of Education today?
I think that traditionally we have always prepared educators to be individuals that are compassionate, that really want to connect with the community and see K through 12 students elevated to their highest potential. I think that has been done at Norfolk State University throughout its history. And as times have changed and maybe education or becoming an educator has not been as popular a path, or there have been so many other paths that have been laid out before individuals in our community to choose, I think that we have to embrace the fact that the landscape of bringing individuals into education has changed. I think one of the ways that we do that is that we really tap into how in tune our youth are to giving back to their communities and building a world in which they see justice and fairness and the use of so many new technological tools that were not available prior to their grandparents and even their parents. And so how I see the School of Education today is I feel like we will stand on the tradition of being highly compassionate educators who really embrace the whole student. And we will incorporate all of those innovative changes that are provided to us from a global perspective to allow our students to be worldwide ready.
I love that, especially when you said the whole student. Speaking of the whole student and the global expansion that we're moving towards, we're not just doing things locally and regionally, but going all around the world. How do you believe that we in the School of Education can redefine the student experience over the next 3 to 5 years?
Well, I think that one of the things that we have done, and this is because my team that surrounds me, my associate dean, my department chairs, my directors, I think that we are looking at not just becoming local, regional, even state educators, but we are trying to expand the horizons of the student to take their talents and skills all around the world And so I think incorporating things like study abroad, and by incorporating other things into our courses in which we are asking them to branch out, to stand out, to look beyond traditional public school education, looking at working in charter schools and schools abroad that may want them to come in where, they're in a country that doesn't even speak English. We are giving them options and having them look beyond just the walls of their neighborhoods or the Tidewater area or even Hampton Roads, and to really branch out and identify how they can have a lasting impact around the world, and encourage others to follow in that same path, to educate, to make it known. Just here are the talents that we have here at Norfolk State. Here are the talents that we are pouring into you. And then they can further that legacy, not just for the School of Education, but for the university as a whole.
And with us, especially here in the School of Education, but on Norfolk State in general, taking so many initiatives to try to be more up to date and more refined, especially in our use of technology and how we talk about equity and things here on the yard. What would you think about leadership in education, and what do you think qualifies Norfolk State to be one of the leading producers of that?
There are several things that I love about Norfolk State, but Norfolk State being innovative, for our students to have exposure in other colleges like CSET. So, we have cybersecurity on campus. That was a whole new complex that was here. We've also incorporated technology into our educational classes, where we even emphasize that they have to be able to teach a lesson in which they integrate technology, not just for fun, but to further enhance the students' learning, either to provide some additional support to those who are struggling, or to provide enrichment for those who are accelerating, and just to increase the interest and participation of students overall. I think that also we have really emphasized to our faculty that it is important that if we are going to preach lifelong learning to our candidates that are in our teacher preparation programs, that we also need to be lifelong learners ourselves. And while the School of Education has really focused on making sure that they know instructional delivery, we have also made sure that they understand that instructional delivery now has really changed. And so you may be an online instructor, and so we incorporate very early on the concept of, being Apple Teacher certified, learning how to be accredited, certified in giving online instruction. And so those have become components that were not a part of the traditional teacher preparation, but they have become a part of our teacher preparation because we are being innovative. We are looking at how the landscape continuously changes, and we are trying to prepare our candidates to be innovative on their own. And so oftentimes we have them go out, do the research, do the exploration, see what else is out there, and they are often bringing new things into the classroom, teaching their instructors, and that is very important. There's a very reciprocal relationship between the students and the professors, so that everybody is learning and moving forward and better understanding how to reach students even beyond now, because we know that as technology is advancing and the needs and requirements are advancing, we know that they have to learn how to be flexible, and that there is not a one-size-fits-all approach, but to really open your mind to expand and to let in new things and to learn new things that you can then, once you learn it, can then teach to others.
Now that is very exciting and very invigorating hearing. And when I asked you that, I saw the smile that came across your face when you began answering that. So I want to ask this. What excites you personally about leading the School of Education at this moment in time?
Wow, there are so many things that excite me. So I guess the first thing that excites me is that I have a great team. I really love being the person who, this is my vision. And then I have these conversations with my associate dean, and I say, this is my vision. How do we make that happen? And the first thing she says is, let me think about that. And then she comes back with ideas. I love meeting with my department chairs. and talking about this is the vision, this is where I need us to go, and then coming up with different ideas for programs, for changing the curriculum, for activities that we should be doing or incorporating, or how we can come together and collaborate to try to find resources and funds to encourage our donors and our alumni to really come and embrace us and help us to get to that next level. So that is something that really excites me. But the students excite me. I am a very open door policy dean. I like for the students to come in and talk to me. They tell me about their ideas. A lot of them are just so great, which is one of the reasons why I've tried to embrace teacher residency, giving them that support that allows them to be paid while they're doing their student teaching. Because they talk about this is a barrier that I have. So listening to the students, and you get a lot of energy and passion from the students because they're so passionate, or they say, I really like the renovations to the building, but could we incorporate this? So they're learning new technologies and things that they want us to learn and bring into the School of Ed. So my excitement is really kind of wrapped all around, from the faculty, the staff, and the students. The staff gives a lot of ideas about how to make things better or efficient, or how to just get students more engaged. And so it's that whole kind of collaborative community that we've created in the School of Ed that really excites me, because they see my vision, they get my vision, and they buy into it.
A visionary indeed. As we're getting ready to close this interview, I wanted to ask one last question. Well, two more questions, but this one is very important to ask. What advice would you give to the students, the faculty, and the alumni about staying resilient and impactful in the ever-changing educational landscape?
Oh, resiliency. Resiliency, I think, just looking at Norfolk State, I think, is a great example of resiliency. An institution that was founded during the Great Depression when people had little to nothing, where you had people who would rather end their lives rather than to live poor or without. But somehow they found the resources to begin. And that's resilience. Resiliency against what's going on now with limiting funds, losing funds for education, but we still continue to press forward. And how do we do that? We do that with the support of our donors and alum. We do that with the efforts of our administration, understanding and knowing the importance of education and really going to bat for us with legislation and funding. Being resilient, I think we lead that charge as faculty and staff, showing our students that, yes, we've encountered multiple obstacles, but our mission still remains to get you through this program so you can be amazing at whatever your degree concentration is. And so I think that we have to talk about resilience with our students. We have to show them examples and provide examples of resilience, because if we don't, then they may not see in themselves the ability to be resilient. That is one of the reasons I have an open door policy with students, to talk to them. And I talk about my own personal, struggles and how they were overcome by the help of others. And we always let them know that we are here for them. And that helps build their resilience so that when they are faced with obstacles outside of the warm embrace of the School of Education, that they know this is something they can fall back on.
That is so powerful. Wow. As we are embarking on this journey called the Spartan Educator Podcast, is there anything that you want to say to the listeners or to the future listeners that are going to be listening in? Anything you want them to take away from the podcast moving forward? Especially they won't be hearing from you at least for another couple weeks until homecoming. So if anything you would like to impart to the people.
What I would like to impart to those who are listening is engage with the School of Ed. We are doing wonderful and great things here that you may or may not know about. Those of you who are alum, if you give back to the university, remember the School of Education. And giving back isn't just about money. It's also about your time. letting us know what you've been doing. You would be amazed at how excited our students get when they hear about former students, people who have graduated from here, and all the wonderful things that they have done. But we need you to tell your story and let us know about your story. And so those are the things that are important. So yes, you may hear about drives to raise funds, but we also need to know what you're doing so that we can inspire and encourage this next generation.
All right, you heard it today from the Dean's desk. We have our Dean of School of Education, Dr. Danelle Wallace Alexander. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you.
Now, for our last segment before we get up out of here from our first episode, we want to do something we called the Future Focus. And this is when we spotlight our current students. And since this is the first episode and we're getting to know each other for the first time, I wanted to shine a little light on myself, a current student right here at Norfolk State University. I want to introduce myself that way. As we introduce more students throughout this series, you will hear that I'm not just the host, but my journey is also intertwined with the other students and the other faculty and staff and the history and the legacy that comes through the School of Education. So as you hear my journey, know that I'm not just the host. I am a Spartan educator in training as well. So I'm going to ask myself some questions. I'm going to answer, and then we're going to go home after this. First things first, why did I choose Norfolk State University and the School of Education? And I chose Norfolk State because of its legacy and its mission. Norfolk State is committed to preparing educators who serve, who lead, and who transform in the community. And that resonated with me deeply as a veteran and someone who's been trained to be a leader and someone who has been in leadership everywhere he's gone. I wanted to grow in a space that values those very things, that value service and diversity and excellence. And Norfolk State is where I felt right at home with that. Tell us about your experiences here with faculty community projects or even student teaching opportunities. One of the most meaningful experiences that has been the mentorship that I've gotten on this campus. Faculty here just don't teach. They also invest in you. They challenge you, and they walk with you through the challenge. Through many projects in the community like tutoring programs and teacher prep initiatives, I've been able to apply what I've learned in real time and seeing the impact in the local schools and in the local communities. But I tell the story often. Before I was in school education, I was in the interdisciplinary program. That's where I did my undergraduate work. And our admin there, Miss Erica Bennett, she used to call me out. Not because I was a bad student or anything, but I was always told, walk like you're going somewhere, walk like you got somewhere to be. And when I first got back to school, I said I was not going to be that person. I was going to finally, for once in my life, put my head down and just skate by, get my degree, and do what I need to do to get to the next place in life. But she called me out every chance she get. Christopher Kidd, what you doing? Christopher Kidd, you not doing everything you could be doing. Christopher Kidd, I see so much in you. Christopher Kidd, I want more for you. And eventually, just to get her off of my case, I actually started performing as if I wanted to perform at the top of my level. And because of that, I have locked in so much more. And I can always say, and I tell her this all the time, everywhere I go, I'm going to mention the name Erica Bennett because she was impactful to me. And her mentorship and her guidance, I would not have gotten if I did not come to Norfolk State. Next question. Every journey has challenges. What have you faced and how has the school supported you? Well, as a husband, a father, and a graduate student, balancing family life with academic life has been a challenge. I have failed. I have succeeded. I have broken even. But throughout all of that, Norfolk State, the school education, it emphasizes support and community. The professors understand the whole student, not just the grades, not just the one that's in the class, but they understand that life be lifing. and they make a difference in how they see you, how they value you, and how they push you through the obstacles, because they know school is hard. And when you add on everything else, and we can add on the things that are systemic, we can add the things that are in the community, the things that are going on with our government and in our society, all of those things can weigh heavily on the student. And being in a space that not only is aware of that, but makes space for that and honors that and makes a path where we can all succeed, not despite those things, but we can succeed in spite of those things, because there is winners in all of us here on this campus. And last question I'll ask before we wrap things up today is, where do you see yourself making an impact after graduation? My goal is to continue preparing future educators. I see myself teaching mathematics, leading programs. I want people to build their content knowledge, but also want to help shape the leaders for the classroom and for the community. I want to be a part of breaking cycles, especially in the underserved and the communities that are ravaged with disparities. So I want to do all that by giving students the kind of education and the kind of access to education that opens doors and transforms lives. And it's stories like mine, as we go into reflection hour, and stories like mine and so many other students, that remind us that the School of Education isn't just about classrooms. It's a community, it's growth, and it's preparing leaders who make a difference. Every student carries a vision of the future with them, and together we're building the kind of future our children, our schools, and our communities will deserve. This homecoming, the Spartan Educator is going live. Join us for a special live stream from the Alumni Brunch and the School of Education's 90th anniversary celebration. Be part of the energy, the stories, and the pride, and you just might be featured on the Spartan Educator Podcast. Don't miss your chance to celebrate, connect, and leave your mark on Spartan history. Tune in, show up, and let your voice be heard. As we close out this very first episode of the Spartan Educator, let's reflect on what we've experienced together. In Legacy Lane, we celebrated the remarkable history and the alumni who embody the School of Education's impact across multiple generations. At the Dean's Desk, we heard the vision for where we are headed and how we will get there. And in the Future Focus, where we spotlighted a current Spartan, we are reminded that the present and the future of education is being shaped right here at Norfolk State University. Through it all, one message is clear. Our mission is bigger than classrooms. It's about community, leadership, and preparing educators who will make a difference. So thank you for joining us on this, the premiere episode of the Spartan Educator. Be sure to subscribe, share, and stay connected with Norfolk State University School of Education on all social media platforms. Together we are honoring the past, embracing the present, and preparing for the future. At NSU, we are the premier destination for the future of education. Until next time, behold.